Greetings, math fans. All right, so this is review sheet 1. And I'm basically just going to, it's what, 12 problems. I'm just going to go through it relatively quickly. And hopefully, if you have any questions about it, just you're looking at the video. But hopefully, you've done this already. And because this is pretty much what your test is going to look like. Okay? All right, so let's get started here. The first thing you got to do is you got to recognize, especially when you see two terms, you got to think, are they perfect squares? Are they perfect cubes? Now, a really easy way to recognize this, in fact, one of the only kind of problems we do are when it's cubed or squared. And if you see it's x cubed, I mean, you pretty much need to look at it and go, oh, gee, it's cubed, so it must be a difference of two cubes. Okay, obviously, you want to verify that 8's a perfect cube too, which it is. And again, I would have on my, someplace on the sheet, I would have the perfect cubes. So I'd have 1 cubed is 1, 2 cubed is 8, 3 cubed is 27, 4 cubed is 64, and 5 cubed is 125. I would probably have that on the kind of on the side written out there. You can easily put it in your calculator and type those values in just so you recognize it. So anyway, the cube root of x cubed, of course, is just x, and the cube root of 8, go to your little chart, oh, it's 2. Okay, so remember what we're doing with this one, we're using soap. Okay, so you should use soap on this problem, and you should use soap every morning so you don't come to class smelly. Okay. You should recognize that you do two parentheses and you put your signs. Same sign, opposite sign, always positive. All right, so that gives you your signs. And then remember, you have the x and the 2. You put the x and the 2 here. The next spot, you square the x. That gives you x squared. The last spot, you square the 2. That gives you 4. And then the middle term, you multiply. So 2 times x or 2x. And you're done with the problem. Okay, it's pretty easy. Now, I do want to mention one other thing here. It says factor each of the following, right? We already did problems where it says solve. Solve, remember I told you, you're going to have an equal to sign when you see solve. Okay, so, and there's no equal to sign. And it doesn't say solve, so you just factor and that's your answer. Okay, that's not bad. This next one is really just like the other one here. You're going to take the cube root of x cubed, so of course it's just x. It's a difference of two cubes, right? Because it's a 27 and an x cubed. And then the cube root of 27 is 3. You can see by this little chart over here, there's the 3. So it's a 3. And that's kind of boring because it's really the same thing. But we're just going to put soap, same sign, opposite sign, always positive. Okay, and then this x and the 3 you go here. This is x squared, goes in this one. Last spot is 3 squared or 9, and then the middle one is the product of the two, multiplying those together. And that's it. That's your answer. Okay, it's not bad. Difference of two cubes. I mean, another cube thing, right? You see cubes here. We've got all kinds of cubes. All right, but anyway, that's going to be, this cube root of 8 is 2. The cube root of x cubed, of course, is just x. Cube root of 27 is 3. So once again, it's soap. Same sign, opposite sign, always positive. So we're going to put a 2x and a 3 here. This first spot is 2x cubed, so don't just write 2x cubed. It's 2x cubed is 2 cubed, or squared, I mean. So 2 squared and x squared. So it's really 4x squared, right? Because it really looks like this, 2x squared, which is 4x squared. The last term is 3 squared, which is 9. And then the product of those, 2x times 3, is 6x. Okay, that's your answer. Okay, the next one, again, this is a sum of two cubes now. The cube root of x cubed is x. Cube root of 125 is 5, and then y cubed. Sorry, it's just y. Get rid of that y. Cubed. Okay. All right, so put our parentheses out here. Same sign. We're using soap. Same sign, opposite sign, always positive. Okay, so this is going to be an x and a 5y. This next one's going to be x squared. So the last one's going to be 5y squared, which is just 25y squared. And then the middle one is x times 5y, or 5xy. Okay, and that's your answer. It's not bad. Okay, next one. Well, you look at it and you go, gosh, there's a y squared there, and there's an 18 and a 200, but those aren't perfect squares. You guys should look at the problem and go, is there a greatest common factor here? All right, and you should definitely recognize that these are both even numbers. So I can at least take out a 2. I don't know if I can do any more than that, but let's just go with a 2. So if I take out a 2, don't forget to put that in the parentheses, you get 100 minus 9y squared. Now, nothing else goes into 9 or 100 evenly. And in fact, I recognize this is a difference of 2 squares. Okay, because 100 is a perfect square, 9 is a perfect square. And again, guys, it's so easy to recognize it. When you see a y squared, that's a perfect square. Okay? So, you're going to write down here, basically the square root of 100 is 10. The square root of 9y squared is 3y. So these are plus and minus, or minus plus, doesn't matter. So you're going to put the 10 and the 3y in each of these. 10 and 3y. 10 and 3y. And that's the answer to that problem. Okay? This next one, now some of you might say, gosh, those look like perfect squares. But remember, guys, you have to factor out a greatest common factor. And in this case here, our greatest common factor is 4. 4 goes into 4. And if you take your calculator, 64 divided by 4 is 16. So you get this, 4 times x squared minus 16. And you should definitely recognize that's the difference of 2 squares. So that's an x, and that's a 4. So you put your 4 on the outside here. And then you have plus and minus. And then you just put x and 4 here, and x and 4 here. And that's your answer. Okay? Number 7, again, difference of 2 squares. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 81 is 9. Square root of y squared is y. So there we go. So we're going to put a plus and minus here, and then we're going to have an x and a 9y, and an x and a 9y. And that's it. That's the answer to that problem. Okay, this next one is definitely a lot involved here in that it's got to do greatest common factor first. In fact, I see there's an x in each one of these, so I can definitely factor out an x. What else? Well, what goes into, it's 15 and 39, so definitely not 2. So remember what I told you guys to do? Take your calculator and start dividing. So if I divided each one of those terms by, well, 2 doesn't work, and then let's go up to 3. Okay, and 3 goes into 24 8 times, 3 goes into 39 13 times, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So again, you're going to just try it out in your calculator. So actually my greatest common factor is 3x. So I'm going to divide each of these by 3x. Okay, so I get 3x on the outside, and then you're going to have, when you divide, you're going to get 8x squared minus 13x plus 5. Okay? So now you got to look for greatest common, or we already did greatest common factor. You got to look for to factor this guy. So we're going to do the x method and then slide and divide. So this is going to be 8 times 5 is 40. Kind of a weird 4. That's okay. It's 40. And this is negative 13 here. So think of numbers that give you 40. But they both have to be the same sign, both negative, right? So think about it. Well, we have 4 and 10. That's 14. And 8 and 5. Oh, 8 plus 5 is 13. Ooh, negative 8 and negative 5. Okay? So, I'm going to just right over here. So we have 3x, and then in parentheses, we're going to have x minus 8. And then x minus 5. Remember what I said to do, guys. So you got this 8 here, right? Divide each of these by 8. Remember the slide and divide. So 3x, and then this one actually simplifies to x minus 1. And that one slides. So, and then you can't simplify 5a's, so it's going to be 8x minus 5. That's your answer to that problem. Okay, it's got the most to it, but that's what it is, dude. And dudettes. All right? Okay, cool. Now on the other side, look at the directions. Ah, yes. The directions. What does it say? Solve. Okay, very, very important. And you can see that it's solve as well because it's an equal to. And how nice, it's equal to 0. Now, it may not equal to 0, but if it doesn't, then you got to switch it around. Now, remember, guys, this is a gift. Okay, this is a gift because it's already factored for you. So wherever you see a variable or a variable in parentheses, you set that equal to 0. So 3x equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0. So I got to solve, divide by 3, x is 0, and add 5 to both sides, x equals 5. Okay, so here are your two answers, x equals 0 and 5. Okay, the next one's not as friendly. It's equal to 0, so that's kind of nice, but I can factor out an x. It's my greatest common factor. So GCF is x. Okay, so I'm going to get x, and then I'll get x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. Okay, so if I factor that, I get negative 10 and negative 3 here. Okay, and so what gives you negative 10? Negative 5 and 2, right? Because negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. Okay, so we have x times x minus 5 times x plus 2. There's no sliding dividing here because it's a coefficient of 1 in front of the x squared. And that equals 0. So how many answers are I going to have for this problem? 3. 3 answers. The first one's easy, x equals 0. Then x minus 5 equals 0. And then x plus 2 equals 0. So that one's done. If I add 5, x is 5. If I subtract 2, x equals negative 2. Okay, so there are your 3 answers, 0, 5, and negative 2. Okay, all right. Number 11. Now what do you recognize right away with number 11? Remember it says solve. The equal to sign is over there. It's got to be equal to 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 54 from both sides. So you get x squared minus 3x minus 54 equals 0. Okay, and let's go ahead and factor that. So we're going to use the x method. So it's negative 54 and then negative 3 here. Now that one's a little bit more challenging because you got to think of numbers that give you 54. You can start out with 2 and 27 and kind of work your way up. But it turns out, if you guys have done your work, 9 times 6 is 54. So if I say negative 9 and positive 6, negative 9 plus 6 is negative 3. And negative 9 times 6 is negative 54. So that's perfect. Okay? So we're going to get x minus 9 and x plus 6 equals 0. Okay, don't forget, we're solving. You see the equal to sign. Okay, so x minus 9 equals 0 and x plus 6 equals 0. So add 9 to both sides, x equals 9, and subtract 6 from both sides, x equals negative 6. So 9 and negative 6. Okay? I didn't put the answer for this one here. It's okay. I told you 0, 5, and negative 2. And I don't care the order. Doesn't matter to me. Okay, last one. Definitely got to do greatest common factor. Please do not do the difference of two squares until you've done greatest common factor. So in this case here, my greatest common factor, 4 goes into 4 and 16, and there's an x there. So it's 4x. So I'm going to factor out of 4x. So I get 4x times x minus 4. And that's equal to 0. Okay, so wherever I see a variable or a variable in parentheses, I set it equal to 0. So 4x equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. So if I divide by 4, I get x equals 0. These are always 0. And if I add 4, I get x equals 4. So 0 and 4. Okay? So that's it, math fans. That's it going through review sheet number 1. And like I said, got to know this because at least it's all in the test. All right? That's it, math fans. Have an outstanding day. Adios. Goodbye.